Everybody, good evening and thanks for joining us. It's Monday. It's nearly the midway point of June already. We're starting off this week on the 11th. Can you believe it? We're also doing so on a bit of a stormy note comparatively, and we're not out of the woods as of yet. A lot of folks have been seeing some stormy weather, flood warnings issued for some folks in Kentucky, and a flood threat for some others. We'll pinpoint and isolate our forecast in more detail in just a few seconds and see that pattern that's going to continue to some degree throughout most all of your work week. Glad to have you with us tonight. We've got a lot of things to get caught up on from over the weekend. A couple of serious auto accidents, both on 460. Also several notable and other arrests making headlines this evening. Some other news and a lot of things just to get caught up on. And looking ahead, just this morning, making our list of news and stories to work on for the rest of this week for both Your News Today and The Independent. A couple of weeks worth of news already lined up, and one of those stories that we hope to be able to break this Thursday is some good news that I've been having to sit on now for several weeks. It's entertaining news, and that's as far as I'm going to go, with my fingers crossed that we'll be able to put that out there on Thursday and maybe have a follow-up on the news on Friday evening. We'll see how that goes, but I think it's all going to work out. Definitely a lot to see and hear this week, and read, of course, as well. So let's go ahead and talk about a few things, several things which have happened here locally. Two things, though, that happened elsewhere in Kentucky, sadly, tonight that we have to mention. A teenager that died. I know it was in Somerset, but nevertheless, a teenager died, a 17-year-old girl on Kentucky's roads over the weekend. But before that, the Kentucky State Police confirmed that they're investigating the death of a 2-year-old child who was found unresponsive and later pronounced dead after being discovered in a hot car in Grant County. State police have confirmed an open investigation into the death of a little 2-year-old that was found Saturday. All we know at this time is that police responded to a 911 call of a vehicle inside a Mercury Grand Marquis, and upon arrival, troopers did confirm the occupant was a 2-year-old and attempted any and all life-saving techniques at that time, but to no avail. They were unsuccessful, and the toddler was pronounced dead a short time later at the St. Elizabeth Hospital, which is also in Grant County. No other information has been released at this hour in regards to the parents, caregivers who were in or responsible for the child, or the situation or circumstances that led up to. That's all we know. All we know about a child, a 17-year-old, still a child, if you will, a teenager dying in a single vehicle crash in Pulaski County over the weekend, was that it happened just after midnight this morning. It was a single vehicle crash that authorities actually came up on. They found the passenger car in a ditch on its top. It had overturned several times after leaving the roadway. Right now, while they have identified the victim, 17-year-old Madison Hannah, they have also confirmed that she was not wearing her seatbelt, that speed may have been a factor, as were wet roads at the time. Here locally, 2 auto accidents over the course of the weekend. One actually, and both on 460 West out of Salyersville. One just shortly after I had left you on Friday evening. The other happening over the weekend. One resulting in the arrest of a Magoffin County man. Yeah, Friday evening, right around 7, just a few miles out of Salyersville on 460 West. This was a single vehicle accident, and this was the scene after arrival of EMS. Now, just prior to their arrival, I talked to some motorists off camera who confirmed that the female driver, the mother, operating the small, I believe, SUV, was actually out upon their arrival as well, was trying to get her 2 small children out of the vehicle. She did suffer some injuries. She suffered what was believed to have been a possible serious head injury, and also serious injury, possibly trauma to 1 or 2 of her fingers on one hand, and was airlifted from the scene to, I believe it was the Pikeville Medical Center. Nevertheless, the 2 small children were buckled in their car seats that you can see here, being transported to the ambulance by ambulance or EMS personnel, and appeared to have suffered no injuries on scene, but of course they were checked out thoroughly by, I believe, the hospital and those on scene. And glad to, of course, hear and be able to report that. We've also just confirmed, while I don't have the identity of the female driver, that she has since been released from the medical center for an extent of injuries that's unknown to us at this hour. But nevertheless, a fortunate situation as the 2 small children, apparently unharmed, the mother returned home after what we have now confirmed to at least not be life-threatening, but serious injuries. The accident is under investigation by the Magoffin County Sheriff's Department. I reached out to the officer conducting the investigation earlier today to try to find out the cause of the crash. Was unable to confirm that information or make contact with that officer. So if we have any more to add before the show's end, we will do so. But this wasn't the first time that crews were going to be making their way to 460 for a serious crash. It was over the course of the weekend on Sunday, just yesterday, that another crash would happen. This one down just past the Pleasant Hill area, and this one involving two vehicles, actually involving a pickup truck with a boat in tow and a passenger car. Eyewitnesses on the scene, motorists who have been traveling behind another vehicle for miles, described it as going from one side of the blacktop to the other for several miles, knowing or fearing that it was going to cause a crash. And when it got to this section, it was a four-door Buick, I believe, that we'll see in just a second. The operator of this vehicle and passengers told me off camera that they did everything to try to avoid the collision. You can see the vehicle basically pulled over into the ditch line on that side of the roadway to try to avoid the crash, and were unable to do so. The passenger car struck the pickup truck in the rear. It tore the axle off, destroyed the boat, and then the car went on until it came to a final rest a few feet from there. The vehicle was driven by Randall Cody Barnett, who was checked out on the scene and taken by ambulance personnel to the Palby Hall Medical Center. However, after being medically cleared at that facility, he was then taken to the Big Sandy Regional Detention Center for being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Authorities investigating that he was high on some sort of pill or prescription medication or something of that nature, and have thus charged him as such. Actually charging Barnett, who's 26, from Salyersville, with his third offense, DUI, with aggravated circumstances. He was also said to have been driving on a suspended driver's license. There was no insurance on the vehicle. The vehicle didn't belong to him, we do not think. If it did, we know it didn't have any insurance on it. I'm not sure how that will, of course, affect the victims on the other side. Nevertheless, he was also cited for no registration as well, no valid registration plates, and was lodged and is still being held in the Big Sandy Regional Detention Center. His bond, I think, was set at $1,000 cash, if I'm not mistaken. But third offense, DUI with the aggravated circumstances for causing the wreck due to being highly impaired on drugs and or alcohol, says the Magoffin County Sheriff's Department citation. I'll be right back. Just a second. We'll have more news to follow. Stay tuned. Foothills Communications brings you the latest in fast fiber internet for home, business, or gaming. HD digital TV with DVR, pay-per-view, and all the favorite channels you're looking for, plus crystal clear communications. Customize your experience today and become a platinum customer simply by signing up for FiberNet phone and TV, and save at least $10 off your monthly bill. The world awaits at Foothills Communications and foothills.net. We're working on several arrests and a couple of stories that we're still trying to follow, and we've actually learned about an investigation that relates to a report that I aired several days ago in regards to a woman who was found on a Magoffin County porch, not knowing literally where she was or whose home she was at. Turns out she was the subject of a shoplifting investigation here in Magoffin County, just wasn't known at the time. I'll get to that in just a few seconds. However, some other arrests this evening making headlines. That of a Magoffin County man charged with several serious counts of wanted endangerment in the first-degree criminal trespassing, menacing, and other charges. 68-year-old Billy Helton of Salyersville is facing serious charges of wanton endangerment in the first degree, criminal trespassing in the third, criminal mischief in the third, menacing, disorderly conduct in the second, terroristic threatening in the third. This all goes back to Friday night around 9:45 or so, when the Magoffin County Sheriff's Department got a call from a Kelly Shane Miller saying that there was a man, specifically Helton, in front of his house shooting at his residence. The deputies also say that they could hear shots being fired while Miller was on the phone with one of the deputies. And once they arrived there, the deputies were told that this man, Billy Helton, had already left the scene on a four-wheeler and gone up to the punch-in area after shooting at the direction, or in the direction, of Miller's home. Now, authorities split up. Several deputies with the Sheriff's Department, one going toward Gun Creek, tried to possibly cut Helton off from going to his house on Burning Fork. And after they cleared the scene at the Miller's residence where the shots had been fired, the deputies got another call from a relative saying that they'd seen something close to a relative's house. And when they arrived, they found that there was the four-wheeler that Helton had been seen leaving the scene on. And then they also found him as well. They found a four-wheeler matching the description, and told him to come out with his hands up when they found Helton nearby. After several commands to do so, he finally did. Authorities could confirm that there were people inside the home when the shots were fired, and there were also people next door when the shots were fired as well. Authorities recovered several spent rounds from the scene. They impounded Helton's four-wheeler and then placed him into custody. I think they found 5 9mm rounds in the driveway of the Miller's residence, where Helton was believed to have been firing from his ATV for whatever reason. The incident remains under investigation by the Magoffin County Sheriff's Department. Jason Raymond Owens, 36, of Swamp Branch, was arrested over the course of the weekend. This arrest actually coming last night around 9:30. Authorities with the Kentucky State Police, Officer Zach Haney, specifically says that he saw a vehicle swerving on the roadway while traveling on US 460 from one lane to the other. He also made a traffic stop and approached the driver, who was not wearing his seatbelt. He advised that he didn't have a valid driver's license, that it had been suspended at some time. He failed what field sobriety test could be given and was charged with DUI, aggravated circumstances in the second degree, as well as driving on a suspended or revoked driver's license, failure to wear seatbelts, no registration seat. There was also a quantity of pills that was discovered during a search of the vehicle, small baggie containing about 14 what was later determined to be Neurontin. And once the individual was handcuffed and placed in the back seat of the patrol car, he pretty much just became irate and belligerent, cursing, yelling, and causing other trouble, and that resulted in other charges as well. He was charged with possession of a controlled substance in the third, prescription not in its original container, and a list of other charges. The incident remains under investigation by Trooper Haney of the Trooper Zach Haney of the State Police. So this next arrest is actually a follow-up of sorts from one that I had some days ago. It was just, I believe, last week or the week before, possibly, that we had ran the report of a woman who was discovered on the porch of a Gun Creek residence when one of the homeowners or a family member came home and found her sitting there. She was heavily under the influence and unable to tell authorities where she was, whose home she was. She didn't know them, they didn't know her, and she was taken to the Big Sandy Jail by the Sheriff's Department for public intoxication and other charges. Well, now it turns out, after speaking with Reggie Gosser of the Sheriff's Department today, that 27-year-old Anber Gibson from the Shelbiana area in Pike County was indeed the one that was arrested on that porch, but it's also learned that she was there because she had fled the Family Dollar store in the Parkway. They had received a shoplifting complaint before she was discovered on the porch of that residence sometime that same afternoon. The manager actually followed her out of the store, got the license plate number of the vehicle she was in, and then the vehicle actually turned in the direction of Burning Fork. That vehicle was found later on abandoned in a driveway in the Burning Fork area. And then it was later determined that Amber Gibson was a passenger. They're still looking for the male. Right now, authorities believe that the two have been smoking meth. That's what statements are to police for a period of 3 or 4 days, and that they were actually en route to Michigan to try to avoid burglary first charges out of Pike County, and that they were en route to Michigan and stopped at the Family Dollar, committed the shoplifting thefts or crimes, and then actually just pulled out of the parking lot and were so under the influence they went the wrong way, took a right turn instead of a left towards Michigan, got lost, abandoned the car, and then Gibson was discovered on the porch of that residence. The male, the driver, still being sought after at this hour. He too has the serious charges out of Pike County, as does Amber Gibson, but he too also being sought after for now Magoffin County charges. And he has been identified as Mitchell D. Wellman, also from the Pike County area. Authorities are asking that if you have any information about the whereabouts of Wellman, to please contact the Magoffin County Sheriff's Department, the Kentucky State Police, or call 911. He is to answer to the burglary first charges out of Pike County, for which he has an active warrant. And as I said, charges which are still pending or to be filed here in Magoffin County as well. Now going on to tonight's Magoffin Farm Bureau Community Calendar, a post-harvest handling workshop has been put together for June the 18th. That's a week from tonight, 6 to 8, at the Magoffin County Extension Service. For fruit and vegetable growers who are currently selling or wish to sell at the farmers markets, I'll remind you throughout the week. The North Magoffin Site-Based Council meeting that was set for this Wednesday, day after tomorrow, has been canceled. Just to let you know, they have not announced a rescheduled meeting at this time, but I'm sure they will tell us, and then of course we'll tell you. It's kind of how it works. And for the class of 2008 of the Magoffin County High School year reunions coming up this weekend, Saturday for Family Day at noon at the park, Raymond Park, that is, that evening at the Ramada Inn, 205-8142. Probably your last reminder. We've had this on here for a few days, so if you're from the class of 2008, better make plans on attending if you're going to. That is this Saturday, 205-8142. And a big party that's being organized on behalf of all of our special needs kids in Magoffin County of all ages. The Masonic Lodge and a lot of other folks have put together just an outstanding day of fun for them later on in August. But right now, they're wanting to hear back from all those who plan on attending, parents and caregivers. So let them know. Food, games, movies, bounce houses, the list just goes on and on and on. They just wanted to thank them for being a part of the community, and having a party is the best way they know to do it. Can't argue with that. So 424-6302 is the number to call Paul Montgomery if you want to help support that, or if you have a child who plans on coming. Call me if you have a calendar announcement, as always, or mail, email, Facebook, phone, fax, drop it off. However you can get it to me, get it here. We'll put it on and tell everyone about it. Funeral services were held yesterday in honor of 87-year-old Harry Thomas Holbrook of Conley Farm, preceded in death by his wife Judy Jordan Holbrook. He survived locally by daughter Valerie Holbrook Patrick. Burial followed at the Holbrook Family Cemetery at Gardner Branch. And we've received word of the passing of a friend, Benji Gibson, who passed away over the course of the weekend. Benjamin Eric Benji Gibson, 40, of Bloomington Road, passed away on yesterday's date. The son of Christine Tackett and the late Kenneth Gibson. Besides his mom, he's survived by his wife, Stephanie Hall Gibson, son Benjamin Avery, and daughters Jenna and Destiny Gibson. Visitation is going to be after 6 tomorrow, all day Wednesday. Services will start Thursday at 1 in Benji's honor, all from the Magoffin County Funeral Home Chapel. I got an announcement in that I just didn't have on the calendar a few moments ago, but for anyone who served on the election board this past May primary, checks are ready and can be picked up at the judge's office in the Magoffin County Courthouse. If you have any questions meantime, you can call 349-2311. Well, we always get to talk about the rodeo here on an annual basis because it has largely been dominated by local crews for years, but the State Highway Department in District 10 says there might be a bit of a changing of the guard, what they call maybe a new powerhouse operating team in the District 10 department. A crew from Morgan County Maintenance Garage won the overall team championship for the second straight year in the annual competition this past Friday at the district's equipment garage in Lee County, in a competition that has been dominated since it started by crews out of Estill and Magoffin counties. Morgan County now seems to be, they say, emerging as a title contender. They won 2 years in a row. They're more than emerging. Matthew Hensley, an equipment operator from the Morgan County crew, won the overall individual championship. Individual event winners hailed from Magoffin and Morgan counties, as well as from the roadside development crew in the district office. The annual rodeo, R-O-A-D-E-O, of course, brings equipment operators from the district's county garages together for a day of friendly competition and fellowship, and the event allows equipment operators from the crews across the districts to show their skills in operating equipment they use to maintain our highways in the district and, of course, to keep us safe. And since we did have some winners in the Magoffin County area, they did forward these photographs to go along with the report. On the grader, Steve Howard of Magoffin County won first place, while Freddie Helton of Morgan County took second. The individual contest winners and runners-up will advance to a statewide competition against participants from the other 11 highway districts across Kentucky to be held at the Kentucky Horse Park the week of the 26th. That's this month. State winners will be eligible to participate in the annual Southeastern Regional Equipment Operators Safety Training Conference competition in Arkansas later this year. Also out of Magoffin County in the snowplow obstacle course, Tex Holbrook first place, with Chad Patrick of Morgan County taking second. Before we turn to your weather forecast, the Paintsville Tigers made it all the way to the state tournament and then some. They won their first round on Friday over Christian County. I think it was 3-1 final score. They then took on Highlands, but met a wall in that game on Saturday, 5-0. But Paintsville making it to the second round of the state tournament, and that is something to be so proud of. Highlands goes on and will take on the winner of, I believe it is Bowling Green and McCracken County. Paintsville and the Tigers were the pretty much only team from certainly the viewing area and most all of Eastern Kentucky in the tournament this year round. Congratulations to them. Here's what's happening in your weather forecast as we're still watching potential for some flooding in some Eastern Kentucky areas. That one serious-looking cell there in central Kentucky moving to the south and east, and it's not specifically going to play a part in our overall situation tonight, and we have fared quite well versus a lot of other portions of central and certainly eastern Kentucky too. But that doesn't mean we're out of the woods, because this cold front that's giving us these showers and storms is pretty much going to stall and park itself right over much of Kentucky, and that means continued chances of showers throughout all of your forecast. Which means cumulatively we could see anywhere from an inch to maybe 3 inches of rainfall adding up over the next few days. And of course, those isolated areas that get into some of those big storms that could blow up, well, it could be a different story for those areas. So it's going to be a watch situation, one you want to certainly keep your eyes on, is my point. 64 degrees tonight, mostly cloudy skies continuing as they have all day. We're still going to hold on to a 60% chance of some precipitation, light for most everyone from here on after, but keep an eye on this front as it will push through shower chances tonight. Tomorrow we'll get down closer to 80, mostly cloudy skies, showers likely. Not everyone's going to see them certainly all at one time, but we are going to have to deal with them throughout tomorrow, Wednesday, and that pattern rolls right on. Like I said, this front's not going anywhere. It will hold clouds in place on Wednesday, around 83 for daytime highs, low to mid-60s for nighttime lows. Still a 50% threat of showers and storms. We're hopeful that by Thursday, even though we've still got lingering shower chances to the tune of 20 and 30% Thursday and Friday, we'll see some partly and mostly sunny skies in the mid-80s as well, and maybe dry conditions at least for the first part of your weekend. But nevertheless, between now and Wednesday, the next 3 days, could add up to a few inches of rainfall for some of us, and maybe even many of us. So that's going to be our flood concerns for the next few days. We'll still have some lingering showers and effects maybe Thursday and Friday. But right now we're keeping our fingers crossed for a pretty decent weekend right now. Saturday, 86 and sunny, mostly sunny at least, and maybe ditto for your Sunday as well. And with all of that said, I'll say just one more time, we have perhaps a couple of weeks' worth of news and headlines to get into the show and into the Salyersville Independent this week. You don't want to miss any of it, so I hope to see you back here tomorrow night for the next edition of Your News Today. Thanks for watching, and have a good Monday.